I basically hit rock bottom. So I woke up in the middle of the night one night and I thought I was having a heart attack. Literally couldn't breathe. And I was like, I need to go to hospital. Like, I cannot breathe. And it was a panic attack. I'd never had a panic attack before in my life, never struggled with anxiety, nothing, no history of it. And it got me. That was brutal.
Danielle Carrigan, welcome to the HoLT Survival Guide for Small Businesses. It's really lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm Bronson.
And Bronson. Bronson is my dog, for anyone watching.
Mine today.
He just doesn't like to be left out. So he is going to be included on hopefully all of the podcast episodes.
Yeah.
So I have invited you here today because I think you've got a really interesting journey. You were a teacher for 17 years, a primary school teacher. You're the mum to 2 daughters, and you have, over the last 2 years, grown your VA agency to you and 11 associates. And you've done that for the first year you were growing it. You did that alongside a full-time teaching job, or an almost full-time teaching job, and being a mum. And I think that's a really interesting journey that you've had. And obviously you're part of my team. Danielle runs my community, the HoLT. So she's my first community manager in that. And she has been pivotal in me growing that over the last year. And I'm really lucky that I've been witness to a huge evolution in you as a business owner and in your business over the last sort of year that we've been close, I would say. And I think it'd be really beneficial for people to understand that mental journey that you've been on, the psychological journey that you've been on, but also how that's impacted your lifestyle beyond the business as well. So tell me a little bit about where you were 2 years ago as a teacher. Like what was your kind of life like as a teacher at that point when you were starting to think about starting something else, starting a side hustle, which is frankly kind of wild.
It was.
As a teacher, you must have been working so hard as it was to want to start a business on the side of that. What was going on in your head at that point?
It was crazy. I look back and I can't believe it, to be honest. I don't know how on earth I did it, but I'll try to break it down. So yeah, I've been teaching for 17 years. I would say the last 2 years of my teaching journey just became a little bit, I was fighting a losing battle. You know, government changes in the county, changes in the school. The job just became something different, something totally different. I could talk about that for hours, so I probably shouldn't go there. But I just became very unhappy in work. I was working 4 days a week. So I worked Monday to Thursday. I had a Friday off. I say I had a Friday off. I wasn't paid for a Friday and I was at home, but I was then preparing for the Monday because that's just teacher life. And I just accepted that. I didn't know any different. That's just what I did. Got to a point where I basically hit rock bottom. So I woke up in the middle of the night one night and I thought I was having a heart attack. Literally couldn't breathe. And I was like, I need to go to hospital. Like, I cannot breathe. And it was a panic attack. I'd never had a panic attack before in my life, never struggled with anxiety, nothing, no history of it. And it got me. It absolutely got me. So yeah, I woke up that morning and I thought, I'm not going in. I cannot go in. Self-certified for the 5 days or whatever it is. And then went to the doctors, and I had 3 months off with work-related stress, various different reasons. And I'd say it took 5 weeks for me to regulate my breathing. So I like going out. I like walking up mountains, you know, random stuff like that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't walk to the end of the road. I was like an old lady that couldn't breathe. It affected me that much. And I'd always heard, you know, oh, I've got anxiety, or I've had a panic attack. And I didn't really used to pay much interest in it. I think, oh dear, you know, that's sad or whatever. But then experiencing it yourself, it's like, that's no mean feat. That was brutal. And that's what it did to me. That's what it did to me. And I thought, you know what? I need to make a change. I'm the only one that can make this change. No one's going to go out and get another job for me. Felt stuck, trained to be a teacher. I can only be a teacher. What else can I do? So whilst I was off work, because I wasn't very mobile, I wasn't physically in a great place, I wasn't mentally in a great place, I started to kind of research what a VA was, because my friend's sister is a VA and, you know, told me all about it. And once I get my head stuck into something, I'm a bit geeky. Like I like to research. I like to know everything about it. Threw myself into it. And yeah, the rest is history.
So you were in a seriously stressed place. You'd had 5 weeks off work.
3 months.
3 months off teaching. And in that period, you decided, right, I'm going to try my hand at being a VA.
Mm-hmm.
How did you juggle being a VA and growing that business, which you did in the first year? You grew to a team of 4 or 5 people in that first year. And then on top of still teaching, because you had to go back to teaching, right? And you're a mum.
Yeah.
You've got 2 daughters as well.
Yeah.
How did you manage to do all of that in 24 hours a day? It's madness that you managed to do that, because I know how busy teachers are.
It is. I look back and I think, because I'd had that experience and I was unhappy and I knew that I was the only person who could change it, that drive was just there. And I thought, there's no other way. I have to do it. It won't be forever. I've got to do it. Yeah. So I was teaching 4 days and working on the business 1 day. Worked with one client at the time who knew that I was only available for that day. Suited them. It suited me.
Yeah.
I then reduced to 3 days and I then reduced to 2 days. And yeah, I ran it alongside. My day was crazy. I'd get up in the morning, I'd do some VA work, whether it be posting on LinkedIn, whether it be some marketing.
What time are you getting up?
Oh, nothing before 6. I can't do before 6. I'm not in the 5 a.m. club. I will never be in the 5 a.m. club, ever. And then, my girls are both kind of independent, so they'd get themselves ready. That was all okay. But it'd be, school run, go to school, teach the kids, home. I'd try and batch cook on a Sunday so that everybody was fed, kids to bed, work at night on the business, still try and prepare my teaching stuff. But actually what it made me do is scale back on the unnecessary crap that I was doing when I was teaching. So I would stay up till stupid o'clock preparing stuff. And I thought, no, you're not getting paid for this, stop. So I did very much work to rule in teaching at that point, because that's how it should have been.
Yeah.
But no, it was a nightmare, but it had to be done.
And you did that for around a year?
Yeah. So it would have been, exactly a year. Yeah.
So at what point was your business at when you really felt confident, or not necessarily confident, but like it was time to skip? Because it must have been, and I know personally because we had conversations around it, but it must have been really, really bloody scary to make that leap, because teaching was all you'd known for 17 years, that safe salary, family to support, and you were about to go out on your own and take the risk of, it could have failed. I know personally it never was going to fail, because anything you put your mind to, you go all in. But you're not convinced of that yourself, right? There's always that voice in your head saying, 100%. But what if? So what was it that you had around you, or what was it that you found in yourself that told you it's time to go?
Do you know what? I checked out. I had checked out. I was still doing my job properly, but all the extra stuff that went with it, I wasn't. When I was working 2 days, it was manageable. It wouldn't be manageable to anybody, but from where I'd come from and the hours I'd been doing, it was like, oh, this is better now, this is okay. I knew I needed to be in it full time, because I was getting queries, I was getting, you do need to be in it and available. And for those 2 days a week, I just couldn't be. And I felt like this is stopping me now from growing even more. So it was basically surrounding myself with people like you. I wouldn't have handed my notice in if you didn't tell me to. I wouldn't have done it. You're to blame.
Sorry, education system.
I just wouldn't have done it. I knew that I needed to be in the business full time, but I just couldn't take that leap. I needed someone to force me.
To give you that shot.
I did.
And I felt like when I had my transcription business, and actually when I had my full-time job before I started my transcription business, because that was my first business, I was at that very similar point. I was like, almost resenting going into my job because it was holding me back from going all in on my business. And I've personally, I left my full-time job and sobbed because I didn't want to leave and I was terrified. And then started the transcription business and I'd been doing that for around a year and then went all in on that. And then I left that behind and went all in on LinkedIn training. And then I'm leaving LinkedIn training behind and going all in on the HoLT membership community. And it's almost like at every point I've looked at the full-time thing or the main thing that I'm doing and gone, I almost resent you now because you're holding me back from doing the next thing and going all in. And it sounds super, super similar to you. And I think that's like the tipping point, isn't it? When you go, actually, my passion for this is gone.
Yeah.
And I feel that urge, but it's super scary. It doesn't because you feel like this is the right thing, it doesn't make it any less scary for you.
No. And it was you saying to me, this was me. Like, this was me. You are me. You know, however many years ago, whatever it was, this is what you need to do. Like, just trust me. And, you know, things like, you're a teacher, you can always go on supply, you can always go and get another job, you know.
There's that plan B.
I suppose I had that plan B that, I suppose, you know, I could just go on supply if it didn't work. And I actually requested to go one day, I forgot about this actually. I requested to go one day a week and they denied it. And I was going to appeal. And I think that's when we had the conversation. You were like, don't appeal it, just go.
Yeah.
So I did. So I handed my notice in and everyone was so shocked. But oh my God, I felt so good that day.
So thinking about that, like in terms of the friendships that you've got now and at the time, what was the reaction like from the people that you had known for a long time? Like, so you said that they were really, really shocked. Were they shocked as in proud of you, or were they shocked and worried for you? Like, what was their reaction to it?
Do you know what? They were shocked, but supportive. Like, they were very much, good. I could never do it myself. Like, oh my God, you're so brave. Like, I can't believe you've done that. You know, almost like lots of them were jealous. Not in an awful way, but in I'm so jealous. And I would turn around and say to them, do it. Yeah. You know, like, do it. If you're jealous and you want out, do it. But no, everyone was really supportive. They didn't get it. They didn't get what I did, what I do. They probably still don't get it now. It's really hard to explain, isn't it? But nobody understood it, but they were just like, you've always got this job to come back on, you know, just go for it. Yeah. So everyone was really supportive. But on the flip side, I had new friends, you know, people in business, people that are further ahead than me. I think surround yourselves with people that have been there 100%.
Yeah.
And I could see what they'd done. And I was able to get that advice from a different perspective, as in a technical advice. Oh, why don't you do this? Or why don't you post this? Or put that email funnel together? Do you know what I mean? It's different help and different support. So I needed both sets. But yeah, no, my teaching friends and as in friends that are all unhappy in their jobs are just jealous, but nice jealous. Yeah. You know, pleased jealous. And I have tried to poach them up.
I was the same. Like I remember when I first quit my full-time job and went out on my own, I definitely had friends around me going, oh, are you sure? So I was only 26 and my friends were all in, like, one of them, my closest friends were, one of them was a primary school teacher, one worked in publishing, and they'd got their degrees and they'd got their like professions, their vocations, and there was me going, oh, I'm going to give up my nice safe salary, which it wasn't not a high salary, but it was safe and reliable, and I was going to go and do it on my own, and there was a risk that I might, you know, lose clients and not make ends meet at the end of the month, and there were definitely some months where I didn't. And I think it becomes those people around you that are further ahead on your journey are crucial, and I didn't have that for the first 8 years, 9 years of running a business. I didn't have that, and that's why I had a business that made very little money. I'm sure of it. If I'd been around entrepreneurs, like people that were actually in business that could give me ideas, and I'm not discounting the value of the friends that I've got, but they weren't business owners. And the minute I started having business owners around me, I went, oh my God, I could do more.
I couldn't have done it without that at all. I couldn't have done it without that support.
And I think that's one of the reasons people join the community that we run is because they are lacking in entrepreneurs around them. And having people to have conversations with. Like, if you do a 10 grand month for the first time and your friends are earning 20 grand a year, that feels really weird to talk to your employed friends. Like, that feels really uncomfortable. And it's not that they're not happy for you and proud of you, but it just feels weird, like you're rubbing their nose in it, like you're bragging.
Exactly.
And so you end up making yourself smaller and not wanting to talk about those things. But you need a space to have those conversations.
Exactly that. Because, you know, I have said before, like, oh, I'm not bragging, but I won't say that when I speak to business friends. So I think you alter your conversation, you alter your words. And people have said to me, like friends, non-business friends, oh, you're so much more confident these days. Oh my God. Like, and I say to them, I don't think I am. I just talk differently.
You absolutely are. You absolutely are. So, I met you 2 years ago properly, I think, when you joined the community. Yeah. But we weren't really close at that point. Like we met in person briefly. We didn't really know each other to a certain extent. Then about a year ago when you joined, I think we'd had a few conversations. We were getting along really well. And it was like, will you be my community manager when it got to the point that the membership needed it? And I have personally noticed a huge improvement in your confidence, because you would come to me before you made any decision and like run an idea past me. You don't do that as much anymore, because I think you are much more confident in your own decision making.
Yeah, I'm definitely more confident.
And your boundaries are so much better. So one of the things that I've noticed with the evolution of your business is how selective you are over the customers that you take on. Your decision-making skills and the boundaries that you have, and your ability to spot the red flag clients. Yeah. So I want to ask you, and I don't want you to throw anybody under the bus or get yourself in trouble. But when you're on like a call with a potential new customer, a new client, what are the things that you notice as red flags?
If it appears like they are interviewing me.
Right.
And which, of course, they should ask me questions. Of course, they should see whether I'm suitable, and they can ask all the questions in the world. But allowing me the space to say what we do, what type of clients we work with, allowing me to ask about their business, what type of clients they work with, giving me the space to talk back, and not treating it like a job interview, basically. So
it feels like a partnership, right? Because
100%.
You are in a service-based business, so you are going to be a team member for them, and they are paying your bills, right? So sometimes it can feel like they're not hiring an employee. This is, you are going to be partners. Yeah. And I think that's something in general I've noticed, and certainly because I've got you and Luke working with me as part of my team, I don't believe I've ever treated you like an employee or considered you anything less than a partner in my business. But I know from the conversations that we've had that absolutely there are people that treat you that way, that will treat you like the help. Yeah.
And do you know what? It can be task dependent as well, right? Because, and this is like a big thing in the VA world. It's like, are you a VA? Are you an OBM? Are you, what are you? Because if people come to us for, I don't know, Instagram growth or whatever, I don't do that myself, but somebody on the team, they would then kind of take over with the strategy, advise them, like social media manager style. Arguably, should we be charging more for that? It's like, but then there are some tasks where the client is saying, please, can you do X, Y, and Z? I'll show you how to do this. I'll show you how to do that. Yeah. So there is a real range of tasks. It is task dependent, because if somebody kind of came to me and said, oh, I want you to manage my LinkedIn account, but I want you to join this pod. I want you to do this, do that. I'd be like, no, that's not how we work. Yeah. So we have our methods too. Do you know what I mean? It has got to be joint. And the other thing I'd say, which I thought was really woo-woo at the beginning, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, but I'm with it, I'm all for it, is just a bad feeling. Yeah. They can be the nicest person in the world that I'm talking to. We get on, we've got things in common, we're really vibing. And if there's just something that's just not sitting right.
It's like dating, isn't it? Yeah. Like sometimes they can be brilliant on paper, but you'll get in front of them and there'll just be something that's off, and you can't put your finger on it. No. But there's just something in your gut that says, this isn't going to be a good customer. And I know that we will all ask each other, because that's part of having business friendships, right? Mm-hmm. If we feel like we know that person, we'll check it out. And we'll be like, oh, do you know this person? Yeah. What do you reckon of them? Like, really, really nice, but see how you feel. Yeah. Because how I react to someone could be completely different to how you react to them. And you've definitely worked with some of my clients in the past and gone, because the way they treat you and the way they treat me are totally different. Mm-hmm. And that really has surprised me over the years that I've known you and Luke, is that there are people who are super, super nice to me and treat me with total respect. But because you as VAs, they treat you really disrespectfully, not paying your bills on time, dragging things on, being real micromanagery, really bloody rude, which makes me really angry, knowing that I've recommended that they work with you and then they mistreat you, makes me fuming. But so there's those two red flags. How have your boundaries got better in terms of the clients that you work with? So like if you're working with somebody and they're not being a good client and it's causing problems with team members or problems for you, how has it changed now compared to what it was? Because obviously when you were a teacher, you still had that backup salary. And now I would think that maybe you would be more willing to accept any client because now it's your main earner. But actually it's not, is it? You're much more...
I think you just get used to the feeling of risk as well. Like I was so risk averse, but now I'm just used to it. It's like if there was an issue with a client, for instance, I would, let's see how it goes. Let's try this. Let's try that. I'd be doing everything to try and make it better, to try and please them. When in actual fact, it should have been, hang on a minute, we're not being treated like this, or we're not having that. Whereas now I act on it straight away. So, it's people leave us for all sorts of different reasons, mainly because they've got to a certain amount of hours and then it makes sense for them to employ somebody. Some people don't. Some people throw a load of hours and don't ever want an employee, and that's great for us. Some people, they'll lose clients themselves, end up in, sticky financial situation. But also we part ways with some clients on our, off our own backs as well. If we don't think it's working.
And I think people forget that. I think when you're hiring a VA or a VA agency or they seem to forget that actually it can work two ways. You can fire them as well. And say, I don't want to work with you. And I think some of them forget that.
Actually. I'm joking.
Please don't leave me. But I genuinely think people forget that actually is a two-way street. You're not begging for work.
No.
And I think that is a misconception people have with VAs, is that they're all out there begging for clients and they're happy for whatever scraps that they get. And they will just, and also I think there's a real lack of self-awareness around VAs as well. People have that, if they send a message to their VA, you're just going to hop on it and do it immediately. It's like, no. We have a whole bank of clients and you're allocated your time each day. And if the work didn't get done in your time slot today, you will have to wait for tomorrow. And I know that there are times I've absolutely messaged you or Luke late at night. And
I've done the same.
And I never expect like an immediate, but we have a different relationship obviously because we're friends as well now. And we are all helping each other grow our businesses. But there is a definite sense of entitlement, not with all clients, but there's definitely a sense of entitlement that I don't experience with the roles that I do. I don't experience that. And I think it's something that people should all be treating VAs. Like, you literally have our businesses in your hands.
Like, it is mad, like the responsibilities that we
you have access to all of my emails, all of my personal information, and I'm going to treat you badly or not pay you. I'm like,
no, it is.
Wouldn't take that risk.
But it's a communication thing though, isn't it? It's like you saying that there and how people, can do that. But is a VA saying, can I just talk to you about that? You sent me a message at such and such a time. I know I didn't get round to that. I just want to remind you that I do your work at such and such a time. If people aren't communicating that, then as well, and I know that's kind of, from a different point of view, but it needs to be communicated too, because there were times where I wasn't communicating it. So I'm going, I can't believe that. They expect it done straight away. And it's like, well, did you say anything, Danielle? Did you try and, did you communicate that?
That's really interesting. But that's probably a confidence thing, right?
Yes, 100%.
And you've realised that actually, and I 100% realised this myself in business, is that at first I was terrified to put my prices up or assert a boundary because, oh my God, I'm going to lose my clients and I need my clients to pay my bills. And actually, you realise that for the most part, when you set a boundary with a customer or a client or a team member, they will actually totally respect it. And I can't think of a single instance where I've asserted a boundary with a client respectfully and politely and they've gone, oh, that's completely unreasonable. But that's what in our heads, that's what we think is going to happen.
Oh,
we
gosh,
think,
I
oh my God, they're going to
everything.
leave me. They're going to sack me because I've said I don't work past 9 p.m. Please don't message me. And reality is actually, as fellow business owners, most of them will respect you for setting that boundary and you know, communicating what is and isn't appropriate and acceptable for you. So thinking about how things are for you now, like what was the decision for you? Because you don't have employees. No. So you're a team of 11, but you don't have employees. You have associates, which means you seek the work from the clients and then you allocate team members based on the client's requirements, who's going to be best for that, which VA is going to be best.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to do it that way instead of having employees? Because Luke's model is totally different. Luke has a team of employees and he's grown his business like that.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to have associates rather than employees?
It was a big decision, and I did look at both options, but number one, I thought I could grow faster with associates.
Yeah.
And there was a need for speed back then. You know, it was like also like employees, it would be, you know, sick pay and holidays, and you know, I don't have to deal with any of that. There's no. And
if you lose a client, it's
if a client goes, then they go. They do their notice, and then they go. So there's no pressure then to still pay people. And that sounds awful, but associate VAs or VAs that do associate work know that, and that's, you know, how they do it. But I wanted to create a team that felt like they were employees, not in a micromanagey way, but I didn't want it to feel like, oh yeah, these guys, oh yeah, they're subcontractors. It was like, how am I going to create that, but have that model? And the way I did it is I like to think I provided value, I provided help. If anybody wants help with anything, or I'm knowledgeable about an area that they might not be, I'll help them.
Yeah.
And everybody in the team, our WhatsApp chat is just wild, to be fair. It is wild.
I've heard it.
I can't even repeat what we were talking about yesterday. No, I can't do it. I was thinking I'm going to say that. No, I can't.
We'll have a conversation about that one later.
Yeah. Everyone is so comfortable with each other, and it's just a nice, friendly place to be. And I've been through that. Oh, this manager did this and that manager. I've been micromanaged. I just wanted to create a nice place that I would like to be at. And there's associates on the team that have got their own associates, so they've got their own teams. And I have had the conversation, you know, you don't have to kind of do associate work anymore, because obviously they work for less an hour than they would with a direct client.
Yeah.
And they're literally like, are you mad? Like, I'm not leaving the team. It's like, I've done it. I'm not quite sure how, but we've done it. I think I've just done it by being a nice person and fair.
Yeah. And that really goes a long way, because there are a lot of people in every industry, but I know especially in the VA industry where there are a lot of people that are taken advantage of. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that sell the dream and can't live up to it.
Yeah.
And I've seen how you treat your team members. And while there have been occasions where you've had to be quite firm with people, you're always fair and kind as much as you can be.
Yeah.
She's not always kind behind the scenes. She says all sorts behind the scenes.
Do I? But you know what? Like not the latest team member, but the team member before that, she started with us 2 months ago, and she texts me saying, oh my God, I've never had as much support from a lead VA before. Like, this is amazing. And I thought, oh, doesn't everyone do this? So I don't know any different. I've never done associate work. I nearly did.
You've built the team that you would want to be on, right?
So I don't know any different, but apparently everyone's happy, and they help me so much as much as I help them. Do you know what I mean? It's so it is so mutual, and it's like if I was having. I mean, I've had a bit of a rough time the last few weeks, and literally they've put in the chat, right, what do you need us to do? We're not charging you. What do you need us to do? Like, we'll help. When you went to Kilimanjaro, everybody, let's not spend another hour talking about that. But everybody jumped on to help me, because I was like, guys, I need to set up a Just Giving page. I need to do that. And they're like, right, down tools, what can we do to help? Oh, no one charged for any of that. Everyone just did it because
I owe some favours.
It works.
Excuse me for briefly interrupting our guest, but I need to tell you about my business baby, the HoLT. I started the HoLT in June 2022 to create a supportive place where small business owners, solopreneurs, freelancers and side hustlers could learn essential business skills at an affordable price, while coming together to network and support each other and our businesses. Every month, members get live Q&As and problem solving on tech, sales and marketing, plus 4 or more masterclasses on skills such as copywriting, finances, sales, social media, branding, mindset, confidence, resilience, graphic design, automation, AI, and so much more. We also host weekly community calls to meet fellow members, content creation hours and monthly wellbeing circles, and in everything we do, we encourage collaboration, regular communication, and most essentially, mutual respect and kindness. The HoLT is where the square pegs of the business world fit perfectly. So if you've never felt like you quite belong in business, we're the community for you. Visit the-holt.com for more information and to get on the waiting list now. We're opening again soon and we'd love for you to join us. Now, back to our guest. Obviously, things have come on a huge way over the last year for you. What about in your personal life? Now, I'm not asking you to spill the goss on everything going on in your personal life, but you've got 2 young daughters, not that young, but, you know, what are they?
12 and 9.
12 and 9. How has it changed at home? Like, what have been the big changes that you've noticed? Because you've changed as a person. And how has that impacted what goes on in your head and how because your confidence, you've evolved as a person and your life has really significantly changed. You're at home a lot more. Like, are you more stressed?
Do you know, thinking about it, and this only just popped into my head then, is I actually think they're more confident now. Interestingly, they've always been quite, don't get me wrong, at home your kids are relaxed, they perform and whatever, but they're like now confident in public and with other people.
And you think
and
that's
thinking about it, that's only happened, I mean, it could be their ages, I don't know, but that's only happened since I've been out of teaching, because they've seen me put myself out of my comfort zone. They've seen me jump on a plane to go and see a client in Dubai. They've seen me drive to Manchester. They, like today, oh, is this going to be on YouTube? Are you going to be a YouTuber? You know, so they're seeing me doing brave and different things. And like, wow, if my mum can do that. So they've become more confident, incredible. I think, if anything. I like to think it's me. I like to think I've done that.
It's definitely got to be part of it though, because you were always a strong female role model to them because you're their mum, right? But to see you, like you say, going outside your comfort zone and trying things and believing in yourself that you can do it. Or even if there are times that you maybe haven't believed in yourself quietly to people like me, we've always had your back and pushed you, but that's probably never been seen by them.
No.
You're not doubting yourself in front of them. No. All they see is like, bloody hell, mum started a business and actually it's doing really well.
And I've always been really honest with them. Like when I'd handed my notice in, so I handed, oh gosh, I can't even remember, but there was a 6-month period where I knew it was going to be hard. And I knew that there was an end to it. Work was going to go, as in teaching. And I remember sitting them down and I said, girls, this is going to be, the next 6 months is going to be really tough. You're not going to get a lot of me. I'm going to be stressed. I might be a bit snappy. If I am, be honest with me, tell me. There'll be a lot of breakfast club at school. There'll be a lot of after school club. And I was open and honest about it. And some people out there might disagree and think, oh, as if she did that to them. But they got it and I was honest, and they accommodated that so much. And like Evelyn, my youngest, would say, has the 6 months nearly finished? Has it nearly finished the 6 months? Aww. So whether that was right or wrong, it worked for me and it worked for my girls. And they celebrated me leaving as much as I did, because they were like, we've got you back now. And I'm like, and don't get me wrong, I was like, oh God, have I done that to them? But it had to be done. And now they can see that that's why she did that.
And you're happier. Like, I know that you personally have had a turbulent time recently, but you as a person are happier in like, you're more confident, you have more faith in yourself. And with everything that has been going on for you personally, which obviously we won't go into, but you've handled it with an air of, I'll be okay, which a couple of years ago probably wouldn't have been the case.
No. Absolutely not. I'm back to kitchen dancing. That says it all.
And that's like, I have moments like that as an entrepreneur.
Just like euphoria.
As a business owner, you literally go on this roller coaster, right? And you have some days you lose a client, or you pitch for something and you don't get the sale. A client doesn't want to go ahead with you. They choose a competitor. And you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get another client. I'm terrible. I suck at this. No one's ever going to want to work with me again.
Yeah.
And then the next day someone signs, you're like, oh, and you're on this constant, this euphoric high. And you've just been completely desperately like, oh, life is crap. No one likes me. No one's ever going to work with me ever again. And then there's that euphoric high and you have, but after a few times up and down on that roller coaster and you're feeling sick constantly from the up and down, you start to trust that actually with every down comes an up again.
Absolutely.
And you stop dreading the lows. Don't stop dreading the lows, but you start believing when you have those lows that you know it's going to go high again.
Bad. I know now if we lose a load of clients or whatever, I know how to change it and I know that it works.
And you know what to do.
Because I've done it and I can do it again. And if I ever have a moment where I dip out of that, I know the team will go, come on, Danielle, you've done this before. Like, you can do this. And we have little kind of, right, how many leads is she going to get this week? And we make it into a bit of a competition almost.
For me, I think that of all of the things, you know, the money, the skills, the learning that I've gained from running businesses and running businesses and growing them successfully, I would say that the most valuable thing of everything, aside from how it's like financially and day-to-day changed my life, is the belief that I now have in myself. And I don't think if you told me at the beginning of when I first started running a business, in a few years' time, nothing will ever hold you down because you will go, don't matter, whatever bad thing I experience, whatever bad thing happens, whether the business, you know, you launch something and it doesn't work, you will always be okay because you always have been. And I don't think I ever really looked at it like that. I just saw all the things that had happened to me as, oh God, these are awful setbacks. God, why are all these awful things happening? Why is my life so hard? And then suddenly I was like, hold on a minute. I've survived all of these things and come back and bounce back each time. And it completely changed how I looked at my experiences and went, but I always bounce back. Instead of, God, this is always happening to me. Yeah, they always happen to me, but I always bounce back. I will always get up, dust myself off and go again. And I think that is such a crucial thing as an entrepreneur, a business owner, whether you want to grow a multi-billion-pound business or you just want a lifestyle business, you will get to that point where you actually believe in yourself. And the quicker you can get yourself there, the better. And the more hiccups, the road bumps that you come to and overcome, the quicker you get to that confidence. So I started looking at the things that went wrong and going, oh, God, do you know what? I'm grateful to each one of those things because I took a really important lesson away from it and it made my business better. And we've absolutely had those conversations, right? You've had a client do something and it wasn't covered in your contract. You've gone, oh, I lost money here. This was a nightmare. I wish I'd done that. Okay, but what can you learn from it? Oh, well, I won't do this in future. Right. Update your contract. That's not going to happen again. Now your business is stronger than it was. So it might have cost you a few £100, but that lesson has now made your bet. And I have done the exact same thing. And I think that's such a valuable part of the crap that happens.
You've got to experience it.
It's only a crap experience if you don't learn something from it. It doesn't make you then stronger. Right.
And people can tell you what to do. Like I've had so much advice and there will have been things that you've probably told me, oh, do this or I'd do that. And I've done the complete opposite because I don't know. I just felt that's what at the time.
We all do that. Yeah.
It's all gone tits up. And then it's been like, okay, I don't then sit there and think, oh, I should have listened. Why did I do that? I think, no, I had to experience how that felt.
It's like being a teenager over again,
in order to, you know, not do it again type of thing. You have to feel it.
You have to have that pain.
It's like charging clients in advance, right? There's so many VAs out there that will do ad hoc work and then just send clients a bill at the end of the month. I couldn't imagine anything more kind of risky than that now. We charge before the work starts, but I had to be burnt before I was able or confident enough to do that. And if somebody questioned me about it, for me to say confidently and strongly, this is why. You know, there are terms and it works most of the time.
And it is unusual. Well. I haven't experienced that before, but I'm obviously I'm happy. It doesn't matter if I pay you at the beginning of the month or the end, it makes no odds to me. But I can understand some clients won't like that, but generally if they don't like it, it's probably because they're not going to pay. They're the kind of people that wouldn't be paying the work or they don't trust you.
But it's with my model as well. So associates will invoice me at the end of the month. Clients pay before the start of the month. Now you might think, oh, she just keeps that money for a month. Things come up. Not everybody pays on time. And it just gives me that little safety net.
It's a really sensible way of
because
doing
otherwise, I then have to pay VAs out of my own pocket, which I'm not prepared to do. But what we do now is if clients haven't paid by, the first of the month or whatever the first working day is, we pause services, which is a nightmare for them because their services
and a nightmare for you,
and a nightmare for us because we've then potentially got 3 weeks to do 4 weeks work in. So it's not the best, but it just closes that risk factor a little bit again.
It is a really, really tricky one. So thinking personally, you've had a lot of support from your friends, your family. What would you say is the most valuable thing you've had apart from support? Like, what are the most valuable lessons that you've learned from the business owners that you've surrounded yourself with?
I'd say people sharing experiences, people talking about their experiences, how they do things. Like when I first came into the world of business, I didn't know. I was literally, you guys were talking, I was Googling, like, what's that word mean? What does this mean?
I was the same.
Jargon, just listening to people. Now, I just love learning. So I hear things. I'm like, oh, what's this? So I'll go and look at that.
It's quite immersive when you're around other business owners as well, isn't it? Even when you're just networking, you don't feel like you're learning, but suddenly you're actually gaining so much.
And it would scare a lot of people, but I just quite enjoyed it. I thought, oh, this is exciting. It's like, it's a whole new world. So I think people sharing their experiences, but also building relationships with other business owners, because people will recommend me. They've never worked with me, but they know me as a person and they know I'm all right.
And you get that trust, don't you? That trust of it by association. Like if someone who's already trusted by that person recommends you benefit from that trust that they've already built, which is, I mean, God, word of mouth referrals are hugely powerful, aren't they? I mean, both of us run our businesses. We get a significant amount of leads from our social media profiles, but it's also the word of mouth. I would say those two things are the biggest way I get business. Yeah, definitely. Same. Referrals. And I will happily do the same for other people and say, oh, I know someone that does that. I've never worked with them in that respect, but I know that they're a decent human. They've built this, they've done that. You can vouch for them as a person, can't you? And their reputation. And I think one of the things that's really interesting now is obviously you have got to this point where there's 11 of you on the team and you've started thinking about how you can change your business model a little bit or diversify and create like a recurring income, which is super sensible. It's something that I've done, and I honestly, I feel like you are me 2 years ago and I'm just watching the same and it's so amazing to watch it. But you and Luke have started a Facebook group where you will eventually be selling courses, resources to support other people who want to become VAs or who already are VAs. And I love that you're doing that, because you two have both built very different models, but really, really successful in your own rights. And you're pooling resources and creating something together that is going to help other people to become good VAs. Because I know it sounds terrible and please don't come at me for it, but the barrier to entry for being a VA is incredibly low. And it's hard to find good ones and to become a good one, because who do you trust to teach you well? Who do you know that's ethical, has good values, and really knows their stuff? And there's obviously so much that's involved in being a comprehensive VA. There's so many skills that you have to learn. So you're sort of switching that model. But one of the things that I find really interesting is obviously there are people ahead of you in business that you are learning so much from, and that's really valuable to be around. But one of the things I've personally found has helped me massively is to be around people who are behind me. And I want to say that in inverted commas,
I know what you mean.
but who are less far along than, and I'm not that far along in running my businesses now, but they're behind me on the journey, whether it's financially or experience wise. And when I surround myself with people that I know I can impart sound advice to, I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea I knew that much. And I'm suddenly confronted by, oh, you know how to do this and this and this, and there's some sensible advice and stuff that I don't even realize is in my head that I'm able to share with people. And I go, wow, I've learned a lot. And that elevates my confidence. And I'm like, oh my God.
It's empowering, isn't it?
It is really empowering. And everybody talks about, oh, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or you need to be the stupidest person in the room at any time to be an entrepreneur. I absolutely disagree with that. There's huge value in that, but you also need to be with people that are less experienced, because it confirms actually how far you've come. Because you remember when you were them
Yeah.
You go, it really highlights
Well, you
the
can
leaps and bounds.
empathise as well, can't
Yeah,
you? And
absolutely. And I found that hugely valuable with watching you and Luke. Like Luke's maybe a year ahead. I was
2 years ahead of me, Luke.
2 years ahead of you. I can't even remember now. Like Luke was one of my transcription team members very briefly, and before I then became one of his clients when he was about 6 months into his business. But I've watched him go over the exact same hurdles that I've had in a different business model, but exactly the same confidence hurdles and things that he's overcome. And then we've both watched it with you, and we've been like
passing the baton,
literally passing the baton, but being able to help you and offer, you know, I wouldn't call myself a mentor, but a sounding board when you've got a problem. I've been able to go, oh my God, like I've done that and this is how I solved it. Look at me. I've done this. This is, I actually forgot about that. I forgot that I'd learned that. And it just made me even more confident. But then I have to keep myself humble by being around people ahead of me and going, oh God, I've got so much to learn still. And you need that balance. It's like a seesaw.
You do. And it's genuine. And I think that's why, like, doing the Facebook group and, you know, the academy and stuff, I'll never not have that desire to help people and to teach. Don't get me wrong, I was done with teaching children. But, you know.
Understandable.
For me, it's the wanting to please and wanting to help people and wanting people to see well. I don't know, that's to see well, to do well. That's just, I don't know, that's just me. It's just built in me. I just enjoy it.
What makes you a good business owner, though, is that you are very much of that a rising tide lifts all boats kind of person, and you're not like a competitive kind of person in terms of business. You're very open to collaborating and supporting one another and helping each other forward, as long as they're not knobheads, because obviously like, we don't like to help knobheads. But that's why you, me and Luke have got along so well, is that we're all like that, and we all want to see other people succeed and help them where we can.
Definitely.
Without being detrimental to ourselves. But
trust is massive too, because like when I take on associates, there are lead VAs out there that, we've got a lead in, they're going to want these tasks. Yes, we'll meet together on a call. They don't give out email addresses, they don't give out their name, you know, to protect themselves. And I get it. But my kind of line to them is, right, they're called this, here's their LinkedIn, here's their LinkedIn URL, have a look. These are the tasks they want. And if someone's new to the team, I'll say, I know this isn't normal, but if someone's going to do the dirty on me, they're going to do the dirty on me. You know, I'm just
assuming the best of people. It's absolutely going to bite you on the arse at some point, isn't it?
Probably.
100%. But it's also going to create loyalty and commitment from the team members that you trust. Like, people like to feel like they're trusted. And there's absolutely going to be people that are snakes about it. That's inevitable. But I'd rather someone was a snake quickly and I went, okay, I don't want you on my team. And we've, you know, I've hired bad people in the past. I've worked with people and gone, wow, I can't trust you. You've scammed me. And we've all made those mistakes. Do you still feel imposter syndrome? Because I know people assume when they see that you do well that you must not feel imposter syndrome. I literally have conversations every day with people that go, oh, but this, and I don't feel like I can do that, and I feel silly and no one's interested in this, and oh my God, I can't possibly do this. And they expect me, they look at me and think, because I've done what I've done, that I must not feel like that anymore. And I'm like, I literally feel like that all of the time, all of the time. There's not a day that goes past where I don't doubt myself or something.
Oh, I know that. You think of like HoLT parties and things, right? People must think, oh, Leah must love this. She's so confident. She, you know, you still get those kind of jitters.
Oh my God,
it.
I'm absolutely freaking out. Like speaking events, even just like going live within the group and hosting stuff. Sometimes I'm like, and I freak right out, even though I've done it like 100 times. It still scares me. And I think people just assume that because you've been doing something a long time, that you're all right with it. And it's no big deal anymore.
I'm exactly the same. I think maybe I appear more confident about it. I make people feel more confident about it. I don't know. It's like before we came in here, I did a Facebook Live, right? I just had this crazy idea last night. I was like, I'm going to do a Facebook Live about that. I'm pretty new to Facebook, as in on a business, level. And I didn't even know where the live button was, right? I'd just done a live and I had to text the team to say, where's the go live button? Like, what do you, I literally didn't have a clue. Went on, I was so nervous, and then came off and they were like, oh my God, you were brilliant. Oh, you're so natural. I said, how can you do that without being nervous? And I was like, guys, I'm sweating buckets. I was like, so maybe it's just disguised better. Who knows? I don't know.
But I think, and I was talking about this with some of the people at the studio earlier, I think there's two really distinct types of people. And it doesn't mean that you can't become one or the other. But I find that the people that I know that are employed are very risk averse.
Yes. Yeah.
And the people that I know that are in business, who are the most successful in business, have an appetite for risk.
Yeah.
They're not always the biggest risk takers,
Yeah.
but they will embrace the fear and go for things.
Yeah.
There's some people that sort of sit in the middle and they'll start a business and they won't really take any risks, and it'll be like a lifestyle business, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, but they'll sort of play it safe and earn just enough. But the people that take off are the ones that go, fuck it, I'm going to give it a go.
You've got to.
And take that risk and be willing to screw it up.
Yeah.
And while I have absolutely screwed things up, I've done some stupid things in my life, and I've absolutely taken some risks without any clue what's going to happen as a result.
Yeah.
And I've gone, I just have to have the belief in myself that even if this screws up royally, I can pull myself back up and go again. And I think that was one of the hardest things in understanding the different friendships that I have and what role they play in my life. Is some of them are going to be risk averse, and they're going to get in my head along with my imposter and say, are you sure you should do that? Is that a good idea? Maybe you should not do that, or do it this way instead, that's a bit safer. And I've had to push them to the back of my head, like that imposter voice, and go, no, I'm going to listen to these friends, because these friends are going, go for it. You can do this. You've got this. You've done worse.
Prepared, because I mean, when I handed my notice in, I had 3 months, or was it 4 months worth of wages, saved. And I thought, well, worst case scenario, you know, if by month 2.5, we're not looking like we're getting anything in, I can do something about it and still. So I was taking a risk, but I was still looking after myself. Yeah. And it's funny because our latest team member, she actually lives near me, first VA that lives near me. And she's handed her notice in on her job after, she was talking to me the other day, and then she texted me, she said, I've done it. I was like, oh wow, I've just made someone do that, you know. I didn't even say to her, go and do it, go, you know, but she was like, no, after talking to you, I just thought, I've got to do it. I thought, wow. So yeah, slowly.
You need people around you that believe in you though, don't you? And people that are that old saying of you can't be what you can't see. And it's so true for me, because the minute I started using LinkedIn, it was the first time I ever saw women in their mid-30s that had kids in successful business owner roles. And I was like, oh, hold on a minute. This woman was a single mum, and she's put herself through law school. And this woman had kids and started an accountancy firm and has absolutely smashed it, making millions of pounds in revenue. And I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. Why can't I do that? Not saying that I looked at them and I was like, okay, they're really smart, and they're really ambitious, and I'm not sure if I am as smart as them or I am as ambitious. But when I started giving it a go, I realized that I am as smart as them and I am as ambitious as them. I just needed that little spark to start to go, and then it roared. It was a flame that roared, and I went, oh, I want to see how far I can go with this. And actually,
it's addictive. It
is addictive, but I would actually say that over the last year or so, my hunger to grow has diminished. And I've realized that actually I've got to the point where I'm much more happy with my life not being as busy. And I've finally developed the confidence to say, actually, I can pull back a bit now, because I don't need to be £1 million business, and I don't really care if I am £1 million, if I've got £1 million business. That's not important. For me, what's important is what lifestyle does this facilitate? And if that's 60 hours work in a week, I'm exactly where I was when I was earning under 20 grand a year. And I don't want to do that. And I think you're still in that growth phase at the moment. And you probably will get to the point where you go, that's enough now. I'm making enough money. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm working the hours I want to do. I've got a great team. We've got a steady stream of clients. Because it's really hard. And I know that you've been through this. You see so much around you, especially on social media. Look at how much you can do. I've gone from 0 to 7 figures in 6 months, and I've done this and I've done that, and I've grown so quickly. And it's really hard not to feel like you need to rush as well, and actually pull yourself back and say, hold on a minute, is this what I want? Do I want £1 million business? Do I want 100 members of staff? Do I want to be working this many hours?
Yeah.
And it's so easy to get swept up in what is right for other people and other people's ambitions.
It is.
How do you keep yourself in your lane and focus? Like, how do you remove those distractions and remind yourself what is important to you and what you're trying to achieve?
It's only recently, so the summer holidays, I worked 2 hours a day.
That's amazing.
That's it. That's all I worked. I wasn't taking any less money. And I thought, oh, blooming heck. Like, don't get me wrong, I've got to build up marketing again now. I just took my foot off the gas, but the team were there. Like, Holly on the team is my VA, and she was keeping things going when she wasn't on holiday. And it was just like, okay, the business hasn't died. I did 2 hours a day. It can be done. Don't get me wrong, I couldn't do that long term, but I knew that I could have the summer off type of thing, if you like.
Yeah, without panicking.
Yeah, so for me, I think now I've sampled that, now I've experienced it a little bit, it's going to get easier and I will start to be able to do that. Yeah. I'm not there, but, and people say, well, why do you work at stupid o'clock at night? I like it. Yeah. I'm a bit of a night owl. I like it when it's still, people are in bed and I can concentrate. That's a choice. That's a lifestyle choice of mine. Yeah. And if I want to go and take the dog on a 2-hour hike in the morning, I can do it, So I'm just getting to that point, I think.
And I think that's amazing because you've only been doing this full time for less than a year. And that you've got to
January
that point.
January the 1st was when.
You've got to that point really quite quickly. And I think that's partly because you've grown a team that you know you can rely on. You've got someone who's helping you sort of manage the team really well.
Definitely.
So, final question before we wrap this up. I want to know what advice you would give to somebody, whether it's a teacher or not, somebody who's running a side hustle or who wants to start a side hustle before they go all in, like not just suddenly quitting their job and going all in on a brand new business. Like, what would be your advice to somebody that's running a business alongside a job? And how are they going to know? What should they think about before they jump ship? And how will they know that they're ready to jump ship?
I think make yourself safe. Give yourself a little bit of security. Save a little bit of money financially. Absolutely go hell for leather on it. You're going to be tired. You're going to think, what on earth is going on? I can't live like this forever. But do it, because you've got to get to that point in the business where you'll think, I can't do any more now without leaving. Yeah. So you've got to get to that point before then you can go. I think just go for it. Just go for it. Be sensible. Make sure you're financially safe. Be sensible. Go for it. It's probably going to be a hellish 6 months doing both, or however long you choose to do both for, but it's all for gains and it will be so worth it. And I'm living proof of that. I'm literally a teacher. I've got no marketing degree. I've not been to VA school. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if I can do it, that's so cliche, but anyone can. And I truly mean that.
I mean, okay, not anyone, because not everybody's cut out for running their own businesses. Some people, like we said, they don't have that appetite for risk. But if people are determined and they want, and they're willing to learn and work hard and know that there are going to have to be sacrifices to be made, it's absolutely possible for people to do it. But they have to have
passion
and
drive,
be self-motivated. Massive self-motivation. Because and it's not going to be every day, right? Because there are definitely days where I wake up and go, can't really be arsed. Yeah. Like, I'd rather just watch Netflix and cuddle the dog on the sofa. And sometimes it's a real struggle to get myself motivated. You're not going to feel in love with your business every single day. But
you as can long have as you're, those days.
Yeah. And as long as you're in love with it more than you're not.
Yeah.
Like, it's
But
it's
also make
easy.
sure it's something that you enjoy and you do genuinely love doing. Because if you're leaving something for something else that actually doesn't put fire in your belly,
I think that's
not
such a
gonna
key
work.
point as well. If you're not passionate about what
Yeah.
you're doing, and that's why partly for me, why I'm moving away, my business is evolving at the moment, is because I did LinkedIn training for 4 years, and I loved it, and I was really enthusiastic, but I feel like I went as far as I could with it,
you've
and
done it.
and it's not a challenge, and I'm not excited by it anymore. And that was the time for me to move on and let go of that. And I'm just not that passionate. I think loving what you do has got to be so important.
100%.
Thank you so much for coming on. I can't believe Bronson has been this good this whole time.
He sat there with his tongue out.
Breathing
I'm bored now, guys.
breathing stinky breath onto me. Danielle, thank you so much for being here today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And actually, I learned a lot more about you than I really... I didn't even know some of that. So it's been really, really nice to have some special time to chat with lots of people watching, hopefully.
Amazing. Thank you.
And thank you so much, and see you again next time. Before you go, I just need to tell you about our brilliant podcast sponsor that aligns so well with our own mission at the HoLT. While seasoned podcaster Wendy C was consoling a friend about a toxic workplace experience, she realised that workplace abuse is so widespread, and yet so many people are suffering in silence, often alone. Safe Space from the Workplace is a new podcast for everyone. If you find yourself in a toxic workplace, you're a leader or business owner feeling out of your depth, or you have a friend or family member struggling at work, this podcast is for you. Wendy will be talking about everything workplace related, including survivor stories and speaking to experts specialising in tools to cope with burnout, discrimination, redundancy, grievances, medical issues, women's health, and so much more. The podcast aims to empower employees and educate leaders and business owners, and help people who find themselves in toxic workplaces to realise that they're not alone. Subscribe to the Safe Space from the Workplace podcast on the links below. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.